and welcome to NameHero. I'm Ryan, the founder and CEO. And today I've got Mike Jung back with me here for our Web Hosting Heroes weekly segment. Hey, Mike.
Good to be back.
Yeah, man, it's funny how fast a week goes by. Last week I had all these plans for the weekend that I was going to set up, finalize the iTunes setup. And so I got on there and I started, just getting in there to the work and into it. And I was using it for a former podcast, so I had to change up some stuff. And as soon as I changed it over to the Web Hosting Heroes and swapped in my new SoundCloud or our new SoundCloud link for this segment, it went under approval and it's still there. So,
well, hopefully it'll be out soon.
Yeah, me and Tim Cook, we're going to go round and round one of these days. Even before I got on here today, the computer I'm on now is a MacBook Pro, and it's an older one I only use for recording. And of course, it wouldn't power on, and then I got it powered on. The network wouldn't connect, and it's like, oh my gosh, and I seriously own a data center and can't get this MacBook Pro on. So.
It's that time of year. I hear it's like the Mercury retrograde or whatever. So that's when everything just is weird and wonky for a little bit. I've heard a lot of people talk about that. So any issues this week, I'm just chalking up to that. I think next week will be everything will be working.
Fantastic. So that brings us right into here, man. So it's been a pretty much a hell of a week. I think that's about as nice a way I can say it. It's been a busy week here at NameHero. And so I just want to, let our audience out here know just a little bit about what's up. And so you guys and gals out there listening and tuning in, if you're current customers or whatnot. Last week, Mike and I were talking about KCDC, the data center we're deploying out in Kansas City here for NameHero. And, we're building out these units, and we talked about the physical security and safety of data center, as well as, hardware optimization and all of that. Well, we've, run across some issues this year in concerns to data center heat. So, we currently use Liquid Web as our provider here at NameHero. We've built out our private cloud, and, and that's where I met you, Mike. A fantastic team, fantastic people. But over the last 6 months, we started to run into issues to some of our newer equipment. Is running into heat-based issues. And so these things, pop up, and, when you're dealing with a heat-based issue, it's so difficult to diagnose and troubleshoot because, it's like, what exactly is it? And when you're not able to physically look at it, that's where it becomes troubling. So, with KCDC, it's a little bit different story, but, it's certainly been quite challenging, as a whole. We also saw this week, as Mike and I were migrating in a server that had some trouble, we ran across some database corruption from that server. So we spent all-nighters trying to get that back up and all that. So first off, let's just talk a little bit about the heat. And, as you were talking about, Mike, things kind of being wonky this week. So let's just see it from your side of things for a bit.
Yeah, so one thing with kind of like with the heat and stability, and one thing I'm really excited about on our new data center is just the fact that it's shielded from any outside external heat, right? And it's also set up to kind of let the air flow naturally. Hot air wants to rise, so you pump in the cold air through the floor, it goes up. One thing I found interesting, I've been a PC gamer basically since I was like 16. Well, how do you get the most frames per second? Well, really, it starts at cooling. You want to keep your hardware as cool as possible, which helps it basically stay stable. And through that, you're going to get the best possible performance. And today, especially with the new AMDs and CPUs getting faster and faster and faster, that's just generating more and more heat. And it's I think we'll see the time pretty soon here where everything is just going to be liquid cooled. In the data center. I don't even think normal fans will be able to keep up. I think we're going to need to, see that next generation. So, yeah, man, that's kind of my perspective. I've always been a huge fan of water cooling. So, so far that seems to work for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, water cooling, I do agree. That's going to be the future. Data centers nowadays are getting so dense. The data center of 2022 is completely different than the data center of 2010. All the way back to 2000. They don't even look the same at all because racks nowadays, they consume a lot more power, and they also put out a lot more heat. And so, one big thing here at NameHero when I got started up, one, what makes NameHero is the hero in the name, right? It's our team, it's our people that make the difference. And I think we had a good example of that, but I'm going to kind of get into that towards the second part of the segments and talking about restoring that database corruption, and kind of how we all came together and the awesome teamwork in there. But while we're on this subject of data centers and heat, so initially, and again, we have a fantastic relationship with Liquid Web. We've worked with them since we got started up here at NameHero. But one big piece we've done at NameHero since the beginning is deploying our shared base hosting cloud on premium hardware. So when I started NameHero in 2015, all the other competitors out there, they were using your more traditional dedicated servers with the spinning drives, as we discussed last week. So I had the idea, let's take these SSD drives with premium CPUs in the servers and deploy them so where things can run really fast, and we're going to offer it for an affordable experience. And so it's, it would have been easy just to do that in 2015 and leave it. But that's what I saw all the other competitors do over the years. They would just build the dedicated servers and they would leave them the same. And it's like, once they had them full of customers, they never upgraded it. It just what it was 5 years ago. So in 2020, I made the decision that we were going to start upgrading all of our network to the AMD EPICs CPUs, which, they're amazing, right?
Absolutely.
And that's when that piece came in about the heat. And it was specifically Liquid Web had mentioned it. It said it's, I wanted to do a RAID 1+0, which is, RAID 10. And they said, well, there might be some issues with the heat in the rack. And, of course, that made sense to me. I mean, I knew they're hot. So I just got to thinking about it. And that's where initially we began to build out our data center. Was not not for a full-fledged production data center, but we had a need for backup servers. So had something happened at Liquid Web that we had a place to fall back to. And so that was initially what KCDC was planned for. And then we also had a rack that was dedicated solely for performance optimization and building out stuff that we could later build in Liquid Web. And when they had mentioned that heat thing, I wanted to see it for myself because, I love RAID 10. I always have the performance, not only the redundancy of RAID, but the performance of stripping and replicating on there, is amazing. So I had to see it for myself. And that was the initial concept behind it, was not just a full-fledged data center, but kind of a prototype. And I was not able to, or still have not been able to replicate that whole heat aspect, but I have been able to get RAID 10 working quite nicely. So just a little bit of a backstory there. Now we're seeing here in 2022, 2 years later, these heat issues, were initially mentioned, kind of start cropping up. I think that goes into kind of the data centers and how the data centers have to continue to evolve with the times.
Yeah, well, and I think it also kind of ties into a little bit, as we're using more and more power, more and more heat. I mean, we know climate change is a real thing that's happening, and you see the evolution. I mean, how many of just computers, and they're faster and they're using more power. Well, how many data centers are out there? A lot, that's all kind of having somewhat of an impact. And that's not to say, hey, don't get on the internet, save the planet, but there's more and more of a need for kind of optimization, or basically getting as much processing power as you possibly can for not only the dollar, the amount of money you're spending, but also per watt. So like, the more efficient we can make all the code and everything like that, the more we can run with the same resources. And I think that can have a massive difference, and everyone's got a little bit of a part to play on that. So that's one of the things that I'm still excited to do, and that's why I came over here. Is I love optimizing things, making them faster, run more efficient, so you can essentially do more with less and still get the same amount of performance. So that's that's always exciting. So
yeah, absolutely, man. And that's it's so interesting to hear other perspectives from it. And about how we're kind of along this process here. And so this has been it's been a different year for NameHero, because we go through these stages in any business, and so you go through the initial startup, which literally I'm working 24/7, trying to wear many different hats, answering tickets and chats and all that. And then after you get through that initial startup phase, you turn into actual, I guess they call it like the growing company phase. And it's interesting because you go through these spikes to where you kind of come up here and you grow, then you'll kind of power up through here. And so as we began to really bring out these AMDs into production, we've also had this surge of growth into NameHero. And so really start to compound growth and new deployments, it really can create, somewhat bottlenecks that come up at times. And so it's all about working through those bottlenecks, from a support inflow into, heat issues, and be able to manage when something goes wrong and actually responding to a disaster. And so, I think we've really done a great job being able to overcome some of these issues by mitigating downtime, coming together as a team, and also sorting out, that permanent solution in there. As I've told the team here at NameHero, there's never going to become a day to where I stop optimizing stuff, because, again, I think it'd be easy to, keep doing things the way we did 5 years ago. It's kind of like an autopilot type setup. You just, put in there and leave it. You run your software up and security updates. But if you're not continually benchmarking and testing, you're missing out on these new chipsets, on all kinds of new technology out there. And so I think that's a necessary component to any platform, is to always be optimizing, always be testing, and always be continuing to develop, even for your existing customers. And so that's, what they name here is we treat all customers the same. You're an existing customer, you deserve the same performance that the new customers coming in and getting. It's not, just because you signed up here, you're like on a legacy box.
Right. Looks, we got Roxy that just popped in here.
Awesome.
But yeah, kind of coming back to what you're saying, it's really like being part of a startup. You're kind of like building a plane while you're flying it, and it's never a complete, you're never finished. So you're always operating, still need to support the customers and all that, but at the same time, we're kind of building that better future. And it's always been a fun kind of a dynamic to be in.
Awesome. Yeah, and there's never a boring day. So, this week, even though being challenging with stuff that's come up and having to react to it, it's fun coming together as a team and seeing how we work, through those challenges. But, as we get into this, there was a blog or two. So, I had a week long of quite busyness. And the title on it was Major Problems at NameHero. And so I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, let me read this. And so I read through it, and I don't know, it didn't make too much sense to me. It's like, I don't know, it just kind of caught me off guard that, the person had written that, but they did not, even discuss it with me. And, and there was someone else that emailed in, I said, give me the issue, send me over the ticket, let me look at it. And then, no one could really provide that. So that's, always interesting to see when that stuff comes up.
Definitely. Well, we are here to help, problems pop up all the time. That's, we're not going to ever be perfect. Everyone dreams of that 100% uptime, but, in reality, that's almost impossible to achieve. And while people may have some issues, by and large, considering what we got, how many sites are we hosting now? Like over 700,000, I believe. Most of them have luckily been up this week. Maybe a handful have had some issues during that migration. Sorry about that, but I think we're over that hump now.
I was trying to actually get a count here recently. We are right around that million website mark around the globe. And I've had that report, that spreadsheet, trying to look at the exact numbers. So I was hoping I'll eventually have it here for this podcast. But yeah, it's the north end of 750,000. And again, I think we are right at that million mark. But once I can completely verify that, we'll make sure to have a little celebration on here for that. When I started NameHero, I never dreamed that we would be reaching millions of websites, being able to power that, so it's been amazing to see the growth of the platform and to see it continue to increase. But let's get into this teamwork aspect, because I've always told our team we can have the best servers, the best hardware, the best software, but without our team, we are nothing. And so as we came into these challenges this week, as you saw, we did a migration. We moved one server to KCDC, and this server had been planned. You were in town. We did a couple dry runs on it, and when we went to complete the final sync on Sunday, we had some database corruption, right? And it wasn't there's a little bit of customer stuff, but that stuff got caught quickly. Site's all back online. Nothing was offline any longer than 20 for 45 minutes while we did the sync. Now, with that said, there was some system database table corruption inside of Mariah database. And so throughout my 24 years of being a system admin, I've never seen someone be able to repair MySQL, MariaDB, what have you, without taking the full server offline for a prolonged period of time and re-importing everything manually. So give us some of your feedback coming together as a team this week, Mike, and seeing that take place. You, Bill, myself, getting on Zoom and really working through this, throughout the night to get it resolved. Kind of your thoughts on it from a different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a hectic week, right? Because we had an unexpected kind of even failure. We were going to do a controlled kind of migration. The server went down. We ended up having to actually restore it to another kind of emergency node. And so trying to switch everything over to that between one server to another, that's already enough of a challenge. Most of the sites, I think we controlled the DNS, so we were able to do that pretty quickly, but there's customers who aren't using us, right? And so you have to communicate, they need to check their email and update it. And then, meanwhile, we're trying to migrate the original server over to KCDC. So we kind of, for a while, we still had data on 3 different nodes, and it was really, really hectic. But, working with you and Bill, and honestly, Bill's the real hero of the week for spotting what he did and making that all happen. I mean, I know how to optimize databases, but I don't know the internals like he does. So, it kind of took you to kind of, obviously you're communicating with the clients, but you're also not only just sitting there saying, hey, where's this at? Where's this at? Marking orders, asking questions, like you're helping. We're all working together, part of the, and planning this out, coordinating. So while it was very hectic and stressful, and I know you didn't get much sleep, and I don't think it, I know Bill didn't. I didn't get a whole lot either. We still kind of all figured it out in the end, and luckily, customers, I think the real downtime was, some of those customers weren't able to access like PHPMyAdmin and cPanel in the database section, but luckily the sites were still up, and there's probably a little bit more cleanup there, but it was a nice team experience for me, especially coming from Cloud Spectator, where it's just me. So, for a couple of years, it was just me. And if I broke something, it didn't matter because nothing's in production. So it was kind of I don't know, kind of like a shock in a way, but a good one. And it was fun, and we got through it. So we've learned some lessons, and in the future, I think we'll be able to handle that a little bit better. But still, it's a good way to end the week.
Yeah, that's fantastic feedback. I mean, all of it. I don't even almost know where to begin. I think it's on our YouTube channel here, and we're also, everyone, we have a SoundCloud feed going. I'm gonna get that link out. But anyways, with that said, if you've watched our videos before out there listening, I've said many times, and I'm just gonna say it again. I've never gotten into web hosting for the money. So I'm not here at NameHero just to become some rich CEO that's sitting on, behind a desk and then barking orders. And, nowadays everyone works remote. I'm not sitting here on Slack just barking in orders. I have an extreme passion for web hosting. And, I had a lot of other businesses before NameHero. And my partners always joked that one day that Ryan was going to go run a web hosting company and leave the other businesses, because in my spare time, that's the type of stuff I like to do. So like if I, in my other businesses, I'd go home at night and I would literally build out some, servers or, see how fast I can make things or scale out stuff, just for fun. And, it finally came for the time where I found myself in my old businesses. And it was like, I'm literally getting up every morning to go make a bunch of money. Like that's, for many years, I thought like that was the main goal of life. And I woke up one day, I was like, this is not fun. It feels like work. It feels like a job, I'm like a slave to this. It's just not, it's not my passion. I just don't love it. And I want to go get into something that I love. And that's where the birth of NameHero happened. Like I hit this whole rock bottom type deal that went on in life. And so I work every day, not to go get rich and just to extract all the money. That's not the objective here. I've got an extreme passion for websites, servers, optimization, running fast, computers. And as strange as that may seem, like that's literally, it's a passion. And so staying up and working with our team at night and stuff, it's not, it's like, oh my gosh, this guy be done, the whole business crashes. Like, no, I know how inconvenient it is to have an off website or to have something that's not working correctly, but I also have that passion of, okay, that's like it's a big challenge to not only get it back quick, but to get it back quick and proper. So, at NameHero, working every day, it's not is work because there is work involved. However, it's doing my passion every day, something I absolutely love.
Right.
So when you're doing what you love, you never work a day in your life. And it's been said many times, but really until you experience it, it's hard to really even be able to articulate that. Being able to do something you love. And the second part of that is, working with an amazing team. I'm not sitting, by myself, just doing the same old monotonous thing, being able to collectively work together and shoot our ideas and so forth and so on.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I've had similar experiences where, when I think growing up, everyone thinks the American dream or whatever, whatever country you're in, your dream, right? What's the dream, I guess, state. And it's, hey, I got a nice house. I have everything I need. And sure, that's nice. But if you're not doing what you're passionate about, I'm a huge fan of Joseph Campbell, and, he says, follow your bliss. If you follow your bliss, something that you really love, keep doing that, and eventually, exactly the life you're going to be, you should be living, you will be living. And I think you're a testament to that, right? And everyone on the team. So it's follow what you love doing, but when you get to work with a team of people that also like what they're doing, that's when it really kind of that's when it becomes fun. I mean, it's not fun when there's problems and servers down, but when you can start working at 9 a.m. And next thing you know, it's 11 p.m. and you didn't even feel like you worked. That to me is a good feeling, especially when you get something done. Even if there's some trials and some tribulations and some issues along the way, eventually you will overcome that. And that's kind of, the hero's journey, tying into the NameHero. So again, we see some mythology there, but I think there's something to it. So yeah, definitely agree.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad you brought the hero's journey because, I found out throughout my whole life, anytime that, get a little bit uncomfortable or in situations that, are not ideal, one, getting out and talking about it, not pretending like it didn't happen, getting out, being upfront and having honesty, but also remembering that stuff never lasts forever. And it's not so much that the situation happened, it's how the situation is resolved and moved forward from, and the lessons learned and the growth that comes out of it. I've always found that, the sun shines very bright after the storm. There's that rainbow that comes out from the clouds as that sun begins to shine through. And that's so true. And, almost every facet of my life I've seen. This past December, I was approached by a company that, they were interested in buying up NameHero, and they hit me up and they said, well, we've got servers at Liquid Web already. So, this would be great for us because we're just going to buy NameHero. Then we want to move the data centers and all this stuff. And, it's like a mid 8-figure deal or so. I can't give the exact number because of contracts or NDAs or whatnot, but it's like a mid 8-figure deal. I sat down with wife and we talked about this, and I said, honey, I said, here's what they're wanting to do. And she knew I had no intent on selling NameHero. I don't have any intent, but she just looked at me.
What would you do? What would you do?
That's exactly what she said. She said, what would you do besides drive me nuts? And I said, you're absolutely right. and she said, what, go start another one? And she knows I would not just sit still. I was like, well, that'd become contract. So anyways, it was a big joke. We actually took it and we threw it away and thought it was hilarious. But, that was just something that, it's like, man, I'm not in this for the money. Go sit and do what? Go sit on a beach? Not for me. It's just not to say that's not important. You still want to have downtime in life. You still want to be able to enjoy your family. Having homes and cars, it's not always a bad thing, right? But for me, just sitting around and doing nothing, that's also not productive. I believe we are on the path here at NameHero of building something that is going to change the way small businesses and individuals are able to publish their websites and be able to have their online presence that's really going to be able to leverage them as a platform as a whole to that new age data center, that new age technology that's going to be affordable. And that's the most exciting thing for me is to hear others, how they're using NameHero, whether it be for a reseller or someone that's just got a web hosting package, to how they're utilizing our services to power their day-to-day business. And it's so special hearing those stories and how they're able to leverage this platform.
Well, and I love working with customers like that. I mean, when we're passionate about what we're doing, but and I would say anyone watching this, I mean, if you're a NameHero customer and you're really passionate about what you do, reach out to us. In fact, I mean, I'm sure we could probably have you on here. It's also very fun and rewarding to interact and engage with those types of customers too. Even if it's not a technical thing, it's hey, well, what do you guys do? Why do you wake up every morning kind of a thing? And so, it kind of helps remind me, what are we hosting? We're hosting websites, but also we're, people's passions and their dreams, and hopefully that aligns with the business. But anyway, I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that we've talked about in our meetings. Yeah, if you're watching this right now and you use NameHero in some capacity, any capacity at all, maybe you're powering just your blog, and that's fine. Or maybe you're powering your business, or maybe you're powering an application, or maybe you're pursuing a career in acting or anything, and you're getting your message out, or maybe you're running an organization or a charity. You're trying to spread awareness or a cause. Whatever it may be. If you're interested in coming on and kind of sharing your experience, we'd love to hear it, because that stuff I just love hearing about it and reading when people send that stuff in tickets. They'll send a kudos or whatnot, and I think it's so cool to learn about all the different stuff going on and around the globe. And I know there's a web development agency in Ghana that was developing business websites. They were just starting to emerge in Ghana, and it was so cool to learn about their business and so cool to watch their model. How they were attracting their customers and bringing them in. They were white labeling NameHero as a reseller. And they're, they're still a customer today, but it was just, amazing to hear that. So if, that's you out there watching, reach out and let us know, because we'd like to, hear your story, have you on if you would so wish. But, if you don't want to be on, you can just send your story as well too. So, either way, but I think that would be a really cool experience to have.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, one other thing I want to talk about is, as we continue to grow, and so growth, how do you continue to grow and you continue to optimize and change the way the infrastructure as a whole is deployed? And we are always working towards this, optimization goal. Where do those benchmarks set? So we were talking earlier about downtime and about what happens and how we react and how we come together as a team. So December 2014 is when NameHero, I put the site live. We were under the dnshero.com domain. I acquired namehero.com in January of 2015, and then we ended up going live. But anyways, since then, we initially started out and we were just offering domains at first, because I'm still getting the platform ready, wanted to bring people on. But from then until now in 2022, we have, close to that million website mark. It might be more, it might be still under, I'm not quite sure yet. I got to get those final numbers. But from those times, I have pinged and monitors set up, and you've seen these, Mike. You had the full login. You actually have the admin login too. We have had 99.9% uptime across the board on all of those servers. Now, we've ran into a couple of those issues since last December 17th, maybe. I almost know the date. We ran into a file system corruption, and we had that slide on one server, and we've maybe had it on 2 or 3 other servers out of hundreds. And as you can see, what we're discussing on today's episode, what's going on here in NameHero, that's our correction to that. So, we are 99.9% uptime. Some incidents happened that caused a change from that. So then we react to, where is that solution lie? What is best for the customer? I wrote pro wrestling news. I had a pro wrestling website in the 90s and then early 2000s. That site 24/7, that's how I made my livelihood. If it went down for an hour, that was an hour's revenue I did not have. So when I came out with NameHero, I knew that as a webmaster, where all my income came from, that any downtime was no good for the business, and I was essentially not making any money. And so that's what NameHero's goal is, to offer 99.9% uptime. And with KCDC, the goal is to bring that to 99.99 and eventually 9. So that's really down into there, and not just server uptime. So you've got network, you've got server, then you've got service, but then you've got website uptime. So 99.9% website uptime, meaning the website with the MySQL engine on it was up 99.9% of the time. So just a little bit of background about that. And you can go on our website and actually view those pingdom reports. But, Mike, from your benchmarking standpoint, what do you, look at, if you're talking to customer or clients or whatnot, and you're thinking about uptime, what do you think about, that type of benchmarking on, like a million websites, 99.9, and also, how you react to when you kind of hit that, you run into those issues that change that, and also, scaling forward into that future. What's that? Just give me some experience.
So, I think, a website up, like you kind of mentioned, there's a lot of companies will say, well, hey, we have an SLA in place. It's 100% network uptime. Great. Well, the network very well might be up and you can connect, but if MySQL's down, if Apache's down, Lightspeed's down, well, then your site's not up, right? So the goal is to offer like very, very high website uptime, but I want to kind of take that a step further and also kind of like, not only is your site going to be up, it should be up and loading quickly. It should be fast for everyone who's viewing that, whether they're, no matter where they are, right? Because yeah, sure, you can have a 100% website uptime. If it still takes a lot of time to load, it's up, but maybe people aren't interacting with it. So that's kind of the next level is, it's got to be up all the time, but let's make it fast for everyone because, fast sites, people will interact with it, especially today with mobile phones. If you're at well, I don't text and drive, but I know a lot of people do. If you're, at a stop sign or a stoplight and you're, hey, well, let me go, what am I going to eat today? Or for dinner tonight, and you're flipping to a couple sites. If you're a local steakhouse and your site loads quick, you're going to get a customer versus if everyone else in that area is taking 3 seconds to load. And in that case, their sites are up, but did it matter? No, because the sites that are up that are fastest, I think, tend to matter a lot. And also kind of just touching on the uptime. Well, one thing I've noticed this week is it's really easy to, when there's a down server, I mean, I feel awful because I realize, luckily there wasn't that much downtime, but people's sites are down. It's easy to forget though, while that might have been one server with some brief issues, we have hundreds of other servers that are up and running just fine. So while people had some problems, it wasn't all of these customers that were having this downtime. It was, I don't know what the percentage would be, but probably less than like 1 or 2%, right? If you split it up between the servers, not dismissing the downtime by any means. But that's one thing when I looked today through the pingdom and all the uptime, I was like, oh, everything else has been up this whole time. So that actually feels pretty good. So, it's easy to get lost when there's a little problem, but if you look at the rest of the picture and I guess focus on the positive things too sometimes versus getting stuck on the negative, that helps, get through tough weeks like this. But again, I'll say if you're a NameHero customer and, your site's up and maybe everything's fine, if you want it to load faster, if you have any questions on that front, reach out. Just put in a ticket and say, hey, Mike Jung said this on the video, give it to him. And I'll work with you. That's one thing I want to do more and more and more. And I'm probably going to say that every single time I'm on here. So I hope someone will take me up on it.
That's awesome. That's great stuff, Mike. Actually, I did the math on that. It was 0.004%. We're affected by that outage today. And that brings, or this week, that brings me to a really good point that my wife made once. I remember when I first started NameHero and, we're starting to collect reviews, right? And so, I'm the type of person that I strive for 10 for 10, 100% always. And if not, gosh, man, it'd ruin my day. There's that one person that said something, something went wrong and they gave me the 1 star. And so she said once, she goes, do you think you're going to get all 10 for 10s or all 5 for 5s forever? And I said, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. She goes, now look, you've got, and this is early on, I had like 800 reviews, and this is on, I think, shopper approved platform. And she said, do you think you're just going to always get 10 for 10? I said, oh, no, you're right. And she said, don't let that run your day. There's not to dismiss when stuff like that comes in, because I always go to find the bottom, get to the bottom of it. And I'll say most of the time nowadays, when those things come in, it's because we denied the order because it was fraud. And most of them all are AUP, TOS violations that come in. They get mad because we do not condone illegal activity. We have a zero tolerance on illegal activity. If you set up your accounts and you have malicious intent, unfortunately, we cannot work with you at NameHero because that's we don't condone it. We don't allow it on our network. We want our customers to have a safe experience at NameHero. Now, before someone sends me an email, if you get infected with malware, meaning you forgot to update your website, that's completely different than being blatantly illegal. Conducting illegal intent is completely different than, hey, you forgot to update a plugin, something happened, even though our malware scanner catches it most of the time. So there's a big difference into that respect when that comes about.
Well, yeah, I mean, bad things happen, problems will happen, right? But on that note, sometimes we mess up too. I mean, you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. And it's kind of balancing all that. But yeah, overall, I'd say, the ratings are really good. And while people might be upset for one reason or another, by and large, I think we got really good reviews. And, it stings when you get that first bad review. I actually was doing eBay kind of as a side hustle for a while, still am. And I was like, I'm going to get to 1,000 reviews at 100%. And I almost did. And then I got that one ding. And then I went to go look at it. And I was like, oh, that actually was my fault. Okay. It sucks, but hey, it's still 99.9%. People still buy. So again, yeah, you got to focus on the positive there for sure. You can't get too hard on yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And you're right. There has been times too at NameHero where, something got jammed up, and it's been my fault directly, or there was human error. I think it is important every day to remind ourselves we are human, right? We're not superhuman. We are superheroes. Our team are superheroes, right? But still, even superheroes make mistakes. Sometimes things happen, but focus on the positive, on all the things we're doing right. And so I think during this whole situation that came about this week that caused it caused me to be sleep deprived. So if I'm a little kind of jumbled, that's why. But aside from that situation was not fun at all. However, what was fun is how the team comes together. And, that's, as I was talking about earlier, the learning experience that comes through it. You mentioned Bill and I had a business together formerly. I had a former company called Amobitrex, to where we had an ad server that he wrote, and we developed, and we would license it out to people. But some of my best memories in the last decade were pulling all-nighters. Bill would come to Kansas City, and he would actually sleep on. I had a business partner, and we had a condo downtown KC. Bill would sleep on the couch if we slept. He didn't sleep much, but he would sleep on the couch when it was time to sleep. But we would just go for days writing code, pushing out updates to this. And it was an amazing experience pulling together those all-nighters. And we would have a whiteboard that you could write across the wall, and you're sharing those ideas and engaging with others that are passionate, doing problem solving or just everyday conversation. That's awesome. That's a great experience. And seeing that unit be able to really coming together here at NameHero, our team coming together and working together, and to be able to share, this challenging situation. It's not good situation. We're going to overcome it. And then seeing the brain power all collectively come together, man, that right there, it sets NameHero apart, having that team elements where we all, work together to solve through these issues, and, our collective cohesive unit.
Yeah. I mean, the moment Bill was like, I fixed it. I mean, I felt it was like 1,000 pounds off my shoulders. And then you learn something. Oh, okay. You learn a little bit more about the internals. The communication's great too. Every time that happens, you build up stronger and stronger communication, and it makes it easier to tackle future issues whenever they do pop up. So learned a lot, and you need sleep. You need to sleep. So you better sleep in tomorrow. For sure. You've been up more than me, which is a problem.
Well, that's what my wife said yesterday. She said, all right, I don't care what happens to this. So this is yesterday morning. She said, I do not care what happens today. I don't care, Ryan, don't give me any excuse. You are sleeping tonight. And if I have to go down and unplug your computer, I'm going to go and unplug it. If I have to turn off the power, I'm going to unplug it. I'm going to do that because you're going to sleep, because you're not going to live, you're not going to live long if you don't sleep. And so I was like, all right, so I was going to sleep regardless of what happened last night. And anyway, so I go to lay down and get in bed, and so I'm tired. And I finally hit that mode to where I was tired, going to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden I started thinking, and boom, I couldn't fall asleep then. It was like I was so tired. I was in that position to where I couldn't even shut my brain down. So I didn't get out of bed though. So she still thinks I slept through the night. And when she watches this, she's going to know I didn't sleep all through the night. I didn't fall asleep till about 2, and my alarm rang at 6:30.
I'll just edit that part out, Otherwise you would have tricked her, and you would have but you still need sleep. It's good for your health. It's good for your health,
No, sleep is really important, and that's something that's, throughout the course of all my businesses over the years, doing those all-nighters and stuff with Bill, while it was so much fun, getting there and building those businesses and building that code, there was a time where I was like, okay, I can't live like this anymore, especially as I get older. And so I try to set healthy boundaries. And, even today, as you see, like, when it hits dinner time, I got young kids. So it's time. All right, Mike, hey, I'm going to go do my nighttime routine. Go have dinner with the kids and the family. I love to cook too. It's a hobby of mine. So I'll go make the dinner. Sometimes my wife helps out. My wife primarily does it nowadays still, but sometimes I do go up and I will actually cook it. Have dinner with the kids and, spend time with them. And I have a lock on my office that actually is like a keypad in the house. And so that shuts, and then I'm out into the home part of the house versus inside the office part of the house. And I try not to come back down here besides one time to kind of get things one check over and then, be out for the evening. This week was a little different, was a little bit different circumstances. But, sometimes stuff does happen. But I do try to set that boundary because.
Well, you got to be there. You got to be there for your family too, right? I mean, it's that at the end of the day, what's the most important thing out there? And I think you're going to have to say it's your family versus
Amen.
all the customers in the world, so it's important to have that work-life balance. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I frequently have said in management meetings over the years that, when it's time to spend time with my kids, I've got to spend time with my kids, and have this relationship. I grew up, my dad was gone a lot growing up, work, other stuff going on. And so I didn't really get to experience that type of relationship, one-on-one time with my dad. And so, being able to spend this time with my boys and the weekends, we try to always go out and do something fun. Last week, we went out to a place called Main Event, and you play video games and all that. And we also went to Chuck E. Cheese's a couple of weeks ago. Just having these experiences to see them, because my son just finished, Carter, my oldest biological son, just finished his preschool year, and she's going into kindergarten next year. And it's like, man, that stuff goes by so fast. And so it's crazy how days go. The days seem long, but then the years just fly by. I can't believe it's 5 years since he was born.
Yeah, and the older you get to, I don't have any kids or any of that, but I've just noticed the older you get, the faster time just goes. I mean, weeks go by what used to be like a day, feel like a day, and it just keeps going faster and faster and faster. So it's important to tech and all this has been a blast, but I need to get outside and go on some beaches and find some Michigan rocks. I think that's gonna be my weekend plan, weather permitting. So
sweet. Yeah. That saying, I'm going to go do something. We're going to do something this afternoon, but trying to figure out something because I guess it's Memorial Day weekend. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Memorial Day weekend kind of snuck up on me. I'm going to find something to do outside, maybe go hit up a pool or something. And see what we can, what kind of trouble we can get into there. My kids, they Wild and Cruz is going to be 3 years old next month. So a two going on 3 and a 5 that's going to be 6 years old in February. Man, these kids are so wild. I wish I had the energy, even though I can stay up late to keep going, the energy that they still have at 5 or 8 p.m. just seems to amaze me. Like, can you bottle some of that up and send it over here?
Probably. Who knows, with medicine or with where we're at these days, give it 10 years and maybe you'll just be able to do that. Who knows?
Right. Absolutely. So we're getting it's about 3:20 here. And we're going to put this out on iTunes. Once that does get approved. So it's going to get approved. I had to finish out a couple more things on it, but we had this on our YouTube last week. I'm going to put it on our YouTube this week. We're going to keep these segments going. Mike and I are going to get on. We're going to talk. We're going to have guests on. Jamie, our operations director, he was going to join us today. Unfortunately, Jamie is a little bit under the weather. So he was actually I was looking over here at my Slack I have on this screen, and he's actually checking out here for the day, going to get some rest himself. He's had a very busy week, as all of us have here at NameHero. But, at the end of the day, we had a very successful week. It was a good week, teamwork and team building. And also, fixing that. Last thing I'm going to say about this database server. So those of you out here listening, we had a MySQL server. It had system corruption that came over. And so big time system table corruption. None of the websites went offline during this process, besides a couple times we had to reboot to restart MySQL. But we were able to fix system database corruption without taking a server completely offline and without completely reinstalling MySQL and without completely re-importing MySQL dumps. And the data is consistent, and there's no INODB, dirty pages, or all that. It's like a miracle and an amazing thing. So, for what it's worth, the geek in me has nerded out on that ever since, Bill said I fixed it, because I was fully prepared that we were going to have to rebuild that whole server. So it's been a crazy week here at NameHero, but again, sharing that, I got to brag on that. I got to brag on our team. I put on our status page, I put Mike and Bill are in here working with me, and they're 10 times or 100 times smarter than I am. If anyone can figure it out, they can. And sure as shit, an hour later, boom, they figured it out. And it's so, again, I can't say enough about that, how cool of an experience that was this week.
Yeah, and just don't give up. I mean, that's what we did. We just didn't give up. And as much as after a while, you're just like, when do you do that? You know, it's one of those, you persevere and you keep trying, and you get a Bill on your team, especially, you know, and it works out. So definitely a good way to end the week.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, just like that thing just clicked and came together. You know, and as a CEO, you know, you have to look at your options. Like, you know, this had been dragging on since Sunday. And so it's like, all right, we have to, you know, draw that line in the sand. You know, eventually, if we don't have that solution, you know, we've got to move on to other stuff because, you know, right, we're busy people anyways already. So we got to figure out, you know, how to get these services fully restored. Even though the websites weren't offline, there was some issues with permissions and stuff. So we had to like, all right, we're just going to have to like cut the cord and, you know, shut it down, reinstall MySQL and manually import them. And Bill said, you know, I'm not giving up. So, dude, I'm not saying give up. I'm saying, you know, we're just going to have to, you know, put a line in and do it, and boom, found it. So anyways, just enough about that. Anything else though you want to add, Mike? Mike, thanks for joining me again here today, but anything else you want to add to let our listeners know?
No, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered most of it. You know, the moral of the story this week is just kind of follow your bliss. Number one, work with, you know, that'll bring you with like-minded kind of people. And then, you know, when you have a team like that, you know, just don't give up, and eventually you will, you'll succeed. You'll get around any barriers or problems. They're going to pop up. But you know, just keep going, and you know, like you were saying, it's when it rains, it pours, but there's always a sunny, usually the sun will come out after that, right? So it doesn't last forever.
Right, absolutely. Well, good stuff, Mike. Thanks for joining me here today. Look forward to, again, reconvening the next week. Those of you listening, you know, we really hope you enjoyed our episode today. You know, we're going to continue on each week with this, and, you know, continue to send your feedback. Had some really good feedback from our first episode. You know, we're very you know, new at doing this. But again, we look forward to this each week. And, you know, if you liked it here on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up, because that tells us, hey, you know, if you don't want to type out stuff, you can. But if you just give us that thumbs up, we know, all right, you know, they enjoyed this. If you didn't like it, hey, I get it. You know, we'll work on it. So give us that thumbs down if you didn't like it. And then also subscribe. So right there in the bottom, I think it's the right or left, you know, hit the subscribe on YouTube. That way you get that red bubble that pops up with our next episode. Our SoundCloud link is now live, so you can listen to it on the go. I'll get that imported into iTunes maybe this afternoon. I'll look at it again. But once they get approved, you can get it on iTunes and be able to download it on your Apple device. So that said, we'll talk to you next week, Mike. Thanks, everyone, for joining us and using us here at NameHero.com.